Okay, good morning, everybody. I hope your Wednesday morning is starting off well. Looks like we're about to start having some beautiful weather, which I personally am very looking forward to. So last night, the counselors did a college information night about everything that parents and kids need to know about the college application process. I'm assuming most of you here today are the parents of juniors, but even if you're not a parent of junior, that's okay. You may be like looking ahead. I'm assuming you're not a parent of a senior because then you've already finished this. But if you are, just know if you're a parent of an underclassman, not a junior, like if you're a parent of a freshman or sophomore, some information may change. The counselors do this every year with the most up-to-date information. So just know that some information may change from year to year. So what they're presenting and talking about today is true for this year's juniors. But I have, there's two counselors with us today, and so I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Jannette, do you want to go first?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Jannette Ortiz, and I work with the last part of the alphabet. So we normally divide our students by alpha. So I work with students SI, last names SI through Z.
Great. And then Ms. Cody Miller.
Good morning. I'm Ms. Miller-Cody, and I work with students last name A through DR. Thank you for joining us.
All right, awesome. So how, when the counselors come, generally how this works is this is very heavy parent participation. So parents, please put, all of your questions in the chat and we will get to them. But Jenny and Jannette, before we get started with all that, do you just want to give like an overview of what you covered last night and where they could find resources on the website?
Sure. So the presentation we did last night, we covered different topics such as like Naviance, the different college systems, within California, and then also private schools, college and career search using Naviance, admission requirements, just the application process in general, and the timeline that goes with it, scholarship, like research, and then how students can use their summer wisely. And so those were the various topics that we touched on last night. And the presentation that we did, we also posted to the guidance website, which I'll include that link in the chat in just a second here, unless Jannette beats me to it. But it was just really a good conversation, just to really highlight all the different systems that we have in California: the community college system, the CSU system, the UC system, private schools, and then like the different requirements to apply to each of those systems. Jannette, want to add anything?
And then another thing that we also discussed was parent involvement. So not only in the college process and helping your student, just if you're going on a trip to maybe if you're nearby one of the colleges, to stop by and just, even if it's not an official tour, just to look at it and step foot on that campus and get a feel for the surrounding neighborhood, the community, and then the campus itself. Those are some good ideas to, things to do as well. Some of our local colleges too, they're easier to get to. And then our students will be, as students get older, it's harder to sometimes have volunteer opportunities, but we have one for you. So in the coming weeks, students starting in May, AP testing will take place. And so we have a lot of students who take AP tests. Therefore, we need your help. So if you are available to proctor, we would really appreciate your help. Usually the tests are at 8 or 12. So usually they're about 4 hours. So usually they're 8 to 12 and then 12 to 4. So if you can sign up for one of those slots, we will put the link to sign up if you are available. We would really appreciate your help. You're not in there by yourself with students, so there will be always somebody there with you, a staff member, and then you will just help with monitoring students and handing out the materials, collecting materials, etc. So good opportunity to come on campus and help us out and our students.
Yeah, absolutely. and parents don't worry, honestly, proctoring AP exams, it's relatively easy. It's actually kind of boring because you're in a quiet atmosphere for 4 hours. So we would appreciate the help because there's a ratio of students to proctors. And so, especially some of our larger exams, we need more staff, we need more people available than we have staff available. So we could really use parent volunteers. Ms. Ortiz just put the link in the chat. And for those parents that are watching this, later on, I will actually include this link in when I send out the video of today's recording. Okay, parents, you guys know everything there is to know about the college application process. You haven't started asking questions. All right, here we go. I'd just like to know if the essay writing presentation part from yesterday will be presented to the juniors in school again, or will there be a similar kind of presentation to the juniors in school? The presentation yesterday was really good with really good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, so we meet with our students, all grade levels every year, twice in the year. So the first semester we really, so they're going to be rising seniors. So next year we will definitely be meeting with them, giving them the rundown of what they should be doing, timelines, the process, resources. So yes, we will definitely meet with students next year, early on in the year, and provide them with everything that they need to do, information, resources, et cetera, et cetera.
And then also as our juniors this year, our seniors next year, when we have, we'll host application workshops for each system. And so, for example, we'll have an application workshop for the UC system. And as part of that application workshop can certainly include information on, the essay writing piece. Also, we do an application workshop for the common application for any students who might apply to private colleges, and, can certainly include that piece in there. And then also students get quite a bit of support in their English classes with some of that college essay writing process as well.
Yeah. I know as a parent, this process can be really intimidating. Jenny, I don't know how you felt about it with your kids, and you do like this particular part for a living much more than I do, but like, I know when my daughter went through this and I know a lot of this stuff, it's overwhelming.
It is, and it's different kind of being on the other side of it as a parent, and kind of remembering that I need to do what I say, not do something different. And so I think it really starts with stepping foot on a campus, taking your student, taking your son or daughter, getting on a campus and just checking it out, as part of a family vacation, as a little, side stop, stop and check out a local college. And just stepping foot on a campus really gives just kind of that start of, wow, I feel like I could be here, or this feels like a good fit. And then from there, really exploring different schools. But it is intimidating. There's a lot of different steps, and we're in the process. So especially as educators, so as a parent, not necessarily doing this every day, it is a lot to take in.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. So one thing that you can start doing now is planning some time over the summer to go visit some campuses. Whether you want to go far to visit campuses, you want to take a road trip, or, whatever you want to do. It really makes a difference because I know, like, even my own, where I went to college, I never even considered going to college there. And because I went to TCU, and we were actually, my mom and I went out to visit SMU because I was looking at SMU in Texas, and a friend of our family was like, oh, while you're there, you should look at TCU. I had never even heard of TCU, and went and visited the campus and fell in love with it. And so I went to college based on, I took that college trip with my mom the summer in between my junior and senior year. And that's where I decided to go to college. So that really can make an impact.
There were just questions.
We're getting our, sorry, in the chat, we're getting our AP time slots fixed. But thank you, parents, for looking at that and signing up. That's a huge help.
I think the big thing too, I'd like to add, Jenny, is that there's, you know, we do provide a lot of support to students. I mean, we do presentations for the application process, you know, in group settings. And so there's students have the opportunity to get that help and support with the application piece. But yet again, you know, stepping foot on campus and checking them out or going to college fairs is another great way to kind of get a sense of different schools and what they offer too.
Yeah. And then the district always does their college fair. Is it in September or it's usually in September, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
usually in September.
Yeah. And a lot of people, like, I actually just found out because students were saying something, they think it's like Independence High School has the college fair because it's always hosted at Independence. It's for the entire district. They just use Independence because they have a very large gym. Their gym is actually way larger than our gym. And so they can fit more booths and schools in. So that's why they use Independence, but that's not something that Independence is just hosting. The district is hosting it. So
there is also a college fair coming up through an organization called NACAC, National Association of College Admissions Counseling. They're a national organization, and so they have pretty large college fairs as well. And there is actually one coming up virtually on April 23rd. So that would be another great opportunity.
Okay, question in the chat. If a student has reached AP Calculus AB by her junior year, can she not take a math class in her senior year if she's not interested in a STEM major? UC recommends 4 years of math, so will this be a problem if she doesn't take math in her senior year?
She absolutely, I mean, she doesn't necessarily have to take it in her senior year. She could also take, if she wanted to take a math course, she could take statistics if in her senior year, if that was something of interest to her. There is also another course, it might look a little, there's another course called MRWC, which could be taken as a 4th year math as well. It's just kind of a course that would help students in terms of just having a course in senior year in terms of math, but it wouldn't necessarily be, it's a little bit different level than calculus. So there are other options for students, and I'd say it also kind of depends on the student's major, like what they're going to pursue as a major and what colleges they're applying to.
I'm going to tag on to that because there are other options. Usually when we think like calculus AB, that the next step is calculus BC. And some students may be like, I totally hear you as a non-STEM person myself. There's like, no, I would never take post calculus. It sounds horrible. But I want to put a plug in for statistics. Statistics is an AP class. So just keep that in mind. It is AP statistics, but especially for a student going into the humanities and any sort of history or political science, like those skills in statistics where they have to like interpret graphs and like data points and things like that. That's actually like something that in a lot of humanities classes in college, they're going to have to do. So that could give them some good background and skills. Another option is all of our computer science classes actually was it the D? Math is D, right? In the A through G. So that would count as a year of math. And there are two of those courses are AP, but there's exploring computer science, which is not an AP class. And so that's like an intro to that computer science. And so that could be an option also. So there are other options out there. The MRWC is a different course. The math, I would say if she was in calculus BC, calculus AB, MRWC is probably going to be relatively easy. But what the cool thing about MRWC, especially if she's not going to be a STEM major, is MRWC, the whole point of it is to look at math in a more conceptual way and kind of have a deeper understanding of like how math works and like the language of math and like what it like. And so that actually might be a good option too. So there's other ways to get that 4th year math. I do also want to point out, obviously this is all very generic because I don't know your daughter and I don't know like what courses she's taken. If she has taken a summer school class where she advanced in math, that does count as a year of math. So she actually may already have 4 years. So that's something to keep in mind too. Sorry, if a student doesn't do any volunteer job or take class in the junior summer, the summer going into senior year, for example, if we just take some vacation, will it hurt the application process? What colleges like to see students do in their junior and this basically this upcoming summer, the summer in between junior and senior year?
We definitely recommend that students stay busy, but however, there should always be a balance and time for fun. They really look at also activities that your student is doing throughout the school, throughout their whole entire school journey. So if your student is playing sports or is part of clubs or is doing things outside of school already during the year, such as volunteering, or maybe they have a job or have other responsibilities at home, taking care of siblings or an elderly family relative, all that stuff counts too. So like I said, it's a balance, but if students have the ability to do that, then that's great. But they take into account everything. And we really suggest that students take that summer between junior and senior year to really look at the colleges and careers and major searches, because that's going to make their senior year a lot easier if they kind of prepare beforehand. That way, when application season rolls around and they already have an idea of where they want to apply, what they want to study, and maybe have even started their essays for their personal insight question, things like that.
And I would, because you mentioned vacation and like, is vacation going to hurt? Like, I want to put a little plug in for vacation and like the opportunities that come with vacation. And like the educational opportunities and learning about a different part of the world and seeing different cultures and things like that, that actually is broadening them also. Now, granted, if your vacation is you're just going to sit on a beach and like read a trashy book, which is what I would do, and I highly recommend for all of our parents, like that we need that time and that's what we should do. But for the kids, like maybe like you're doing some like, like learning about like the local culture and like learning about a different part of the world. I mean, those are educational opportunities that when they do write these essays and these like personal statements, that maybe they can like throw in some stuff that they learned. And like, that's like an opportunity to broaden them because colleges are looking for well-rounded students that, haven't been so sheltered and like haven't had any sort of life experience. So I don't discredit the idea of vacation and what that can offer to the kids. So. Other questions you guys have? You guys, Jenny and Jannette, you guys did such a good job last night.
It's a lot of information. This one's a lot of information to take in. I would definitely say that.
And we will present to parents next year as parents of seniors. So don't feel like you have to remember everything all at once. We will do another presentation next school year.
If a student doesn't have any work experience and has to leave it blank on the UC application form, will that look bad?
No, I would say, no, that does not look bad. I mean, like there's many different ways that students are busy throughout their high school career. Some students work, some play sports, some are in different clubs, some are involved in organizations outside of school. And so there's lots of different ways that students can demonstrate that they are active outside the classroom walls. Some students don't have the opportunity to do things outside of school. They might have family obligations. And so instead of listing different like work experiences or different like school-based activities, their activity might be, helping at home and taking care of siblings. So just a reminder that activities or work experience or clubs and things like that, it's not just one particular thing that schools are looking for. They're trying to get a sense of what students are doing outside the classroom walls in general.
And a lot of the times parents and students feel like the more they do, the more they have, the better it is. But, you know, like the saying goes, less is more, right? As long as they're involved in something that they've demonstrated commitment and dedication to it, to maybe 1 or 2 activities, that, you know, also speaks about their commitment to certain projects or things, rather than doing a bunch of things and then it kind of they're all scattered all over the place, right? So less is more, but for the student to do it, you know, with showing time commitment and compassion and passion about the subject. We have, you know, students who are planning on going into the medical field, so they're involved with 1 or 2 clubs that have to do with that area that they're interested in, and you know, that's kind of, they're taking on leadership positions in those clubs, and so really organizing and fundraising and being very, very active in those clubs. So you know, it kind of shows that they have a big interest and that they're pursuing activities related to what they plan to study or careers that they plan to go into.
Okay, question in the chat. Do we have to fill out a different application for San Jose State in the East Side Spartan Promise?
No, so our students who are all Eastside Union High School students automatically get, if they meet eligibility, they are part of that Spartan Promise. There's no separate paperwork.
They would just fill out the SJSU application.
Just have to fill out the San Jose State application for that, yes. Yeah, because they, like, on the application, they're gonna say that they went to Piedmont Hills High School, and San Jose State knows that that's part of East Side. Do you guys want to take an opportunity to briefly explain the East Side Promise? I know we've talked about it before, but just in case any new parents, you know, that are like, what is the Spartan East Side Promise?
So it's an agreement with the Eastside Union High School District and San Jose State to promote college, attending college. And one of the cool things that they also have is that in the summer they have like a kind of like a summer bridge program, and so students get to aid and who participate in the program and get priority registration for courses, and really a lot of support. They meet with a counselor early on. So if your student does decide to go to San Jose State, they should you know, encourage them to attend that summer program, because students benefit a lot from it. And so students who meet the requirements, the 3G requirements, are guaranteed a spot. So, and San Jose State is an impacted campus. So, you know, it's, people think, oh, it's San Jose State, but no, they have a lot of, they're pretty impacted. So it's a nice opportunity for our students.
Can I just add to it a little bit here? So essentially that if students apply to SJSU, and as long as they meet the A through G requirements with a C or higher, and they meet the minimum GPA that's designated for the Spartan East Side Promise program, if they apply to their particular major, let's say engineering, for example, and they don't get into that particular major, they'd still be considered for admission, or they'd still be admitted as an undeclared major. So it is a neat program in terms of, especially if they don't get into their designated major, they still do get a spot into SJSU, again, as long as they meet those minimum Spartan Eastside Promise requirements.
Question, how does this apply to students in home hospital or independent studies? I mean, it's the same thing, right? Because those students, you're still a student at a high school, even though you are in home hospital or independent studies, you're still considered a Piedmont Hills student.
Yep, as long as they meet the A through G requirements.
Does State University have one common application, or do we need to fill out individually for each school? So how does that work when you're applying to the CSUs?
So it's kind of a little bit of both. It's essentially one application, but they select the different campuses as well within that they're applying to. So more or less kind of like one application, but you are still paying different fees. Like if you're applying to 5 different CSU campuses, you're still going to have 5 different application fees. It's just that there's a lot of the information in there is going to be the same information for each campus.
Yeah, I can like, because my daughter, like, she applied to CSUs and you had to select like which campuses are you applying for. So, okay. I noticed there's an AP exam for physics C, electricity and magnetism at PHHS, but PHHS does not offer the course. Can you explain why the school offers exam but not the class? We do offer the class. I think in past years, we called it something slightly different. I think that, what do we call it?
Is it advanced science? Oh, I can look it up.
So yeah, like, so we do it kind of weird, because we never have enough kids to fill a class, though. Are we actually offering the class next year? No, it's still physics 2, right? We never have enough kids to fill a section of it that we can run a section independently. So what Mr. Aberly does is we combo it where we put those kids, we allow, like, basically we call it something different, though I think we should probably this is a
advanced science.
conversation we should have internally, that we actually call it physics C. And I've talked to Mr. Aberly about it, and I think we are going to start doing that on their transcript it says physics C. But they're just in another class because it's usually like 5 kids that are doing it. So we do offer it, but kind of in a non-traditional way. Could you repeat the requirements for SJSU or the Spartan Eastside Promise? What does impacted college mean?
So for the requirements to be able to, or to be eligible for a California State University such as San Jose State, students need to have completed all the A through G requirements with grades of C or better and have maintained a 2.5 GPA. So impacted means that they receive more applications that there is space for. So a lot of students apply to San Jose State, but then they don't have enough space to accept all the students that apply. So there's a lot of demand.
And I just looked on our spreadsheet for next year's courses, and it actually it's called Physics C, the one section we're doing. So. Other questions parents have? Is there one kind of financial application required to fill out for each student? Is it the FAFSA? So yeah, how does the financial aid piece work?
Yeah, so students fill out the FAFSA, and that's the federal financial aid form. And then if students, other students also qualify to fill out the DREAM Act application. And so next year, the financial aid application will be simpler, I hear. So there will be less questions. It's a really daunting task to, now it's electronic, so I guess that's good. But back in the day when it was on paper, it was just such a headache. But it's electronic, and for next year, it will be fewer questions. So that's good news to our rising seniors.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of the pieces that can change from year to year. If you are the parent of a younger student, just know that may change. Is the FAFSA required? When is the deadline? Where can we find the applications?
So the FAFSA is based on a new state law. The FAFSA is something that's required that all seniors complete. And we'll walk seniors through that process next year and give them some information on filling out the FAFSA. We'll have different workshops for students and families as well. The deadline typically has been March 2nd because that is like our state, sort of like our state deadline to getting sort of like state aid as well. But we'll have lots of support and workshops for students and families. Because it is a daunting, it has historically been kind of a daunting application, but at least next year it'll be a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, one good thing with it being required for all seniors, and like that's like an expectation that we have as a school, that the state has on us, that we are like doing all this. Seniors, they will get all this information multiple times next year. So don't fret about it now. Like we've got it covered. So starting next year, that there will be a ton of information coming out about that.
I was just going to put a link in the chat really quick. There's a PDF document of all the different impacted campuses for the CSU system, at least, and their different majors. So if you are looking for something to do or want to have a little bit more information, just something to look at later. It just shows all the different CSU campuses and whether or not they're impacted or what majors are impacted at those campuses. And again, impaction means that they get more applications to that school or that program than there are spots available.
Are all the workshops for seniors required for students to attend or for students who like to go and sign up? It's kind of a mixture of both, right?
So usually our grade level presentations, we will take, for example, all the government and economics classes who have seniors. It's a senior level class. And we will meet with them and give them, for example, information about college, deadlines, and financial aid. So like those broader topics that every student should know or have information for. Usually those we do as like with their whole class. And then there are the optional ones, for example, like the common application, which is used for private universities and colleges. Maybe, you know, your student isn't planning on applying to a private college. So maybe they can choose to not attend that one if that doesn't apply to them. Or we also have the CSU, California State University application workshops and the University of California application workshops. So, you know, those your student can decide whether they want to attend or not. But if they are applying to those schools, then they should really make an effort to attend.
Yeah, in general, the ones that are required that we get to every student, we do that within the school day, like go into their classes and present there. It's the ones that are after school that are, they get to decide if they want to go or not. What should you look for on campus visits?
Oh boy. Lots of things. I mean, there's a lot of things to look for when doing campus visits. I'd say the size of the school is one thing. How many students are there? Safety kinds of things. How spread out it is. Whether or not they have a particular major that the student is looking for. Visit the dining hall if you could, visit like dining halls or dorms to kind of get a sense of what that looks like. Trying to think.
I think that's a very like personal thing, right? Like some students want a smaller campus. They don't feel comfortable having to use a scooter to get from one end to another. Or some students like the larger campuses. They want like the city life. And so it really depends on what the student and the parents are looking for. It's kind of more of a personal, decision or preference, but also, just the safety around the neighborhood, location, are there certain things that your student really is particularly looking for? Does it meet kind of what they want, what they hope to get out of the college experience?
Yeah, I think those are all good. Definitely the dorms, and what the dorms are like. If you can get into the dining hall and eat at the dining hall, that's a good idea to see if the food's any good. That's just my daughter complains about the food at Sonoma State all the time. But the dorms are lovely, beautiful dorms at Sonoma State. Food apparently not so great. Look at, one thing, like, is your child going to go to college with a car? And if so, what's the parking situation? And how difficult is it to park at the college? If they aren't going to have a car, how close are they going to be really isolated because there's nothing around the school? Or are they close to things that, it's within walking distance, or there's public transportation where they don't really need a car? Looking at like you're saying, the surrounding areas, what is convenient for them to go to, because they're not going to want to eat at the dining hall all the time. I mean, my daughter, she goes to Sonoma State, and there is a Taco Bell across the street from Sonoma State, and my daughter eats Taco Bell probably 5 to 6 times a week, not lying. So those are things to just like the practical realities. Like, we talk about college and like the classes and that sort of thing. There's also like just the reality, how close is the grocery store, if they're going to want to go to the grocery store, that sort of thing. I would say, what sort of like fitness, is there a gym on campus? Are they going to be able to exercise, things that they care about? And, how close is that to the dorm, and what's the access like? How, like you're saying, how spread out is the campus? Some campuses are very, very large, and very spread out. And so how are they going to get from class to class? And is that going to be, something that's easy for them to do or more difficult for them to do?
I'd also like to plug, I did put a checklist in the chat, just different things to consider. Another thing too would be access to like internship opportunities. If somebody's going into computer science, then maybe going to school in this area would be really beneficial, because there's a lot of opportunities here.
Yeah, and one thing that as a parent, just be careful, because what you may like and be like, oh God, because I'm going to be honest, when you start looking at campuses and like going to look at colleges, there's a little bit of FOMO that goes on, that you're like, oh wow, this would have been so fun for me. I would have loved this. You aren't your child. So, it's what your child, because they're the ones that are going to be living there and going to school there. So what do they like, and not necessarily what you like. Yes.
That's a great reminder.
Yeah. Yes, campuses do give out tours in the summer. Like, this is like honestly, colleges, because they know that juniors are starting to look, like they definitely do this during the summer, which is nice. Now, when my daughter was going through this process, it was actually when everything was shut down. And so she didn't actually get to visit a lot of campuses. Like, we drove around like empty like parking lots, and like walked through empty campuses, but we didn't have, because they weren't doing any tours then. So you guys are lucky. You definitely can do that. Yes, they do. Usually, like, if you look on their website, they've got a piece where it's usually under admissions, and like it'll say something like campus tours, and it's something that you can schedule.
And another thing to consider also is that if you're not going anywhere, near that campus, but you still want to see it, a lot of the schools have a virtual tours. So that's also something that you can, see. Or if from all those virtual tours, you just say, oh, I really want to go to see this one in person, then, that helps to narrow it down as well.
Yeah. Okay, we've got time for a couple of more questions. I mean, we can open this up if you guys just have questions about the end of the year, and things that are coming up and events and everything.
And so don't forget, school starts earlier this year.
Yes.
August 2nd or 3rd?
3rd. The first day for students is August 3rd. The first day for teachers is August 2nd. So yes, school does start earlier this next year. And then we have the entire week of Thanksgiving off this next year though. So if you wanted to plan something for Thanksgiving week, got the whole week off. Which is why we're starting earlier.
I had some students come in and tell me, oh, I'm doing a summer program that, you know, it ends August 9th. I'm gonna miss a day of school. I'm like, no, actually, you're missing a lot of days of school. So
Mhm.
those students didn't realize that they're starting earlier. So just if you're traveling or making work plans for your children or summer programs, just keep that in mind that it's actually August 3rd.
You know
is the
what? I'm
first day.
gonna thank you. I'm gonna make a note myself to put that in the newsletter and all of the emails to the students to start thinking about that because people are making summer plans right now.
There's a question about when will we receive details on reporting location and other details for the proctor volunteers? Miss Miller or Miller-Cody, who usually reaches out to parents?
I would say it's either Miss Shootman or Miss Pereira that would probably be doing that.
Okay.
I mean, I would say probably sometime next week. So probably not this week. Ms. Pereira's at a training right now. So she's not even on campus this morning. But I know she's like finalizing everything over the next couple of days. So my guess is like next week is when you'll be notified.
Mhm.
Because
Thank
the
you for
week
volunteering.
after- yes, thank you. Because the week after is when it starts. April, with spring break being in April always flies by. You're like, oh wow, we're at the end of the month already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already got the email that I can select the classes that I want to volunteer actually.
Oh, nice. Great. Yeah, again, thank you so much. We don't normally ever like really ask parents to come and volunteer, but this is the time that we need you. And so we do really appreciate that. Okay.
And so just a reminder that you can't proctor an exam for a class that a relative is taking. So like if your student is taking I don't know, AP physics, like you can't proctor that same exam. So
Yeah, that is true. So do keep that in mind. One little last thing, we talked about the start date for next year that's we're starting on August 3rd. Graduation date, because I always get a lot of questions about that, and we don't have the school calendar up for next year. That's something I do over the summer where I plug in all of the stuff for the upcoming year. So that will, like, if you check the website by the end of June, it will be updated and it'll be on there. But just so you guys know, it's always on the Wednesday of the last week of school. So it's always on Wednesday and it's always at 6 p.m. So I think this year it's the 31st. I think next year is a leap year. So I actually think it's the 29th next year. Because I was looking at the dates, I think it's May 29th. But whatever the Wednesday is of that last week, it'll be at 6 p.m. Okay, so I know parents, graduating seniors, that's something they always want to know and like think about. If I sign up for 10 a.m. or 9 a.m., when should the help end? Well, the tests run from 8 to 12 and from like 1 or 12 to 4. They're about 4 hours. So assume if you sign up for morning, like assume around noon. If you sign up in the afternoon, like around 4.
I think there's some confusion because on the sign up website, it'll say like May 2, and then there's an AM slot. So it looks like it's saying May 2 a.m. So the number signifies the actual date, and then it's whether or not you're signing up for AM or PM. So hopefully that makes sense. So if you see something like May 10, it's actually May 10th, the AM slot, or May 10th, the PM slot. And we'll get that cleared up though.
Okay. Okay, let me remind myself what our topic is for next week. Oh, and then Jannette and Jenny, if you want to join me next week to talk about this. So does the shift always start at 8 a.m.? Usually, because yeah, we need to, like, that's when we would need them to check kids in and like get all the materials out. That's kind of like, it's really like the beginning and the end is when we really need people, because you're passing out all the materials and getting all the kids checked in or collecting all the materials. So yes. And even though our school day starts at 8:30, and that's been a big deal, that does not apply to AP testings, because the timing for AP testing is set by the College Board. So the date and time for the AP test, just know that is set by the College Board, and they are very strict about it. Like if we don't do it on the date and time that they say, they will invalidate the test. They are very strict about that. So our topic next week is, this has become a yearly topic for me because next week's my birthday. And so I always talk about aging. And so this is for parents, how we feel about aging. And I've got some thoughts about hot flashes. Hopefully you guys will join me for that. Thank you. I appreciate that. So thank you guys for joining today. Hopefully this was valuable. All of the links that we put in the chat, I've opened up. I will put those links in when I send out the video of this. So if you didn't happen to click on it today in the chat, I'm going to put it in my email that goes out. I'll put all of those links. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you, counselors, for joining me. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy the beautiful weather. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.